A large number of snakes call southeast Queensland their home. So, if you happen to see one, don't panic. As Brisbane-based snake catcher Yanni says,
a snake sighting is rarely something to be scared of.
Yeah, right.
In fact, you're more likely to spot a harmless and non-threatening carpet snake. If you do run into a snake, follow these 2 steps to be snake smart. Stay calm and don't approach, or stay calm and call your local snake catcher. Remember, snakes are our wildlife neighbours.
If you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
4ZZZ, we care about our listeners.
4ZZZ. Eco-Red.
Radical Radio Collective.
4ZZZ.
Good afternoon, listeners. You're tuned into 4ZZZ, 102.1 FM, and this is Eco Radio, Australia's longest-running peace and environment radio show. My name is Zack, and my pronouns are he, they, and in the studio...
I'm back, baby!
Yeah, return! You've been demoted to being called Isabel, though, rather than Izzy, because we had a DJ Izzy Brown come back on the program recently. Enough. So they've taken
the main Izzy.
Yeah, they're above you on the Izzy hierarchy.
That's fair enough. I am Isabel. You may have heard me just then, or no idea. My pronouns are she, they.
And I want to start off by acknowledging and paying my respects to the custodians of the country on which we broadcast. We are located in the city Magangin on Turrbal Indooroopilly land. I also want to acknowledge and pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are listening in today. Our radio waves reach Kabi Kabi and Junabara country in the north, Waka Waka country in the west. In the east, we pay our respects to the Quandamooka people, and down south we reach Commonberry, Ngarawal, Mununjali, Wandjirabara, Yugambe and Bunjalung countries. There is no Crown land. Thank you to No Idea, particularly at the end, talking about how eating by yourself can probably reduce the nutritional quality of the food. Mm-hmm. I do that a lot, so I always make sure to have a video of a crab eating an onion ring on in the background on YouTube, and it makes me feel slightly less alone.
Yeah, I wonder... Sorry, it's scientific. I do wonder whether or not having a video in the background also is a companionship, if that makes sense. Because I don't know about anyone else, you can text in. Having something in the background, like watching TV or something, is now been adapted to having YouTube in the background or whatever. So I wonder if that still affects it. But yes,
I wonder what people did before YouTube then.
No, fully. Had to think on their own.
Today on the program, we're going to be going through a major news story that's kind of occurred over the past 2 weeks, and that is the change in classification for dingoes. So they may be classified as domestic dogs in Queensland now.
Yes.
And we'll discuss that. There's probably going to be some issues with that. But also I'm going to be having a chat about bandicoots, because I saw a bandicoot on Monday night again.
Nice.
And I've never really looked into them that much. So I was like, oh, go and have a look at it.
It's the government's job to protect Australia's forest and bushland, but under the Albanese government, there's been 1 million hectares of deforestation in Queensland. Doesn't seem like they're doing a top-notch job. The Albanese government is about to change Australia's nature law. While this might seem like telling them how to suck eggs, we expect laws that actually work to protect nature by closing deforestation loopholes and protecting threatened species. It's literally their job. Head to wilderness.org.au/suck eggs to learn more. Proud sponsors of 4ZZZ.
So going on to the bandicoot, they're something that I see fairly regularly, but I actually don't really know too much about. So after I saw one again on Monday night when I was out gallivanting in the woods, decided to do a bit of research on them.
Is that a typical hobby for you, gallivanting in the woods?
Yeah, it is. I have a friendly eel that I go and see occasionally.
You did? Did you post photos on the Eco Instagram of?
I posted a video about her.
Yes.
But yeah, I went and saw her again on Monday.
Nice.
My little...
Your little princess.
My little side piece. We have 2 species of bandicoot in southeast Queensland, that being the northern brown bandicoot and the long-nosed bandicoot, the latter of which is the one I'm going to be having a chat about. So the long-nosed bandicoot is presumably named so because its nose is longer compared to other bandicoot species. Now, I couldn't find any true proper verification on that, but at least looking at images of it and comparing it to other species, that appears to be true. I did find, though, that its taxonomic name is Parameles nasuta, which translates to the long-nosed pouched badger, which is an alright description, I suppose, but I would say it still looks more similar to a rat that has a long nose and pouch. Just look one up if you don't want to know what a bandicoot looks like, because whatever I say is never going to do it justification. But yeah, the long-nosed bandicoot is about the size of a rabbit, reaching a maximum weight of about 1.4 kilos, but between 700 grams and 1 kilogram is much more common, and they're typically 30 to 43 centimeters long. The long-nosed bandicoot has a pretty long distribution range, occurring east of the Great Dividing Range from Cairns all the way down to Melbourne. So yeah, that's about 3,000 kilometres, something like that. And they're typically associated with wetter conditions occurring in rainforests, moist gullies and woodlands. Within those biomes, though, having a range of subhabitats is beneficial for them, with open stretches of grass allowing for more efficient foraging and dense scrub providing habitat they shelter in and hide from predators. I did see some records on the Australian Museum website of the long-nosed bandicoot being found in places like Alice Springs or other parts of the outback, but I'm very sceptical about those when all the science is pointed towards them being found in wet conditions and in forests and that sort of thing. So I suspect that's just an error. The long-nosed bandicoot is a nocturnal animal coming out at night to forage, whereas during the day they rest in a shallow dug den lined with leaves and other plant matter. And speaking of foraging, as most bandicoots are, the long-nosed bandicoot is omnivorous, using that enhanced snoot to sniff out food. They feed on a variety of invertebrates, including adult beetles, beetle larvae, caterpillars, spiders, and many more critters, as well as plant matter such as fungi, roots, and some leaves. Although you may never see a bandicoot in person, you can probably tell if they've been in the area, as they are pretty prolific diggers and create conical holes in their search for food, which is the plight of many a gardener. And as all marsupials do, the long-nosed bandicoot has a pouch. However, its pouch faces backwards, and this is because if you're digging around in the dirt and you're flicking up dirt all the time, if it faced forwards, you would be flicking dirt into it and just, smothering your kids with dirt, which, not ideal for the kids.
Yes, probably not good.
No, buried alive in the pouch. These guys have one of the shortest gestation periods of any mammal in the world, with roughly 12 to 13 days between conception and birth. They then give birth to between 1 and 5 young, which remain in the mother's pouch until about day 60, at which point they will be weaned off and then left to their own devices in another 30 days or so. Having a gestation and parenting period this short allows the long-nosed bandicoot to breed up to 4 times per year. The right-wing conservatives would love to have the bandicoots as people, because they'd be pumping out kids so fast.
Damn, tradwife bandicoot, that's crazy.
Outside of mating or parenting, the long-nosed bandicoots are pretty much solitary, interacting very little with each other, which obviously that's not very tradwife of them, so they wouldn't be popular for that. The long-nosed bandicoot, along with many other bandicoot species, have fared relatively well since European colonisation, and is currently listed as least concerned by the IUCN. I should mention, though, that bilbies are essentially bandicoots, or if they're not like a subcategory of bandicoot, they are very closely related, and they obviously have fared much worse since the arrival of Europeans in Australia. Hence the whole Easter bilby sort of thing. Yeah.
It is really interesting. Yeah. How colonization has affected them, but also I hear a lot about outdoor cats as well.
Yes, yeah, feral cats.
Feral cats affecting their populations as well. Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And that isn't to say there hasn't been any issues with bandicoot populations, as some populations around Sydney have disappeared, stemming from habitat loss, which is not very surprising. Invasive species such as foxes, as Marky mentioned earlier, feral cats and wild dogs have put further pressure on them as well, because invasive species are never particularly good for
native species.
For native species, particularly in Australia with those mid-range predators sort of putting pressure on small marsupials. And on top of that, although you wouldn't really consider it like a huge, I suppose, like a huge effect on their populations, because the next species I've been talking about, a native species, they still do predate on them, and those are like owls, quolls, and various snake species. So yeah, they're still around, and in general, long-nosed bandicoots doing all right, and they're pretty cute.
That's cool.
But did you know that Crash Bandicoot, are you familiar with
Yes,
Crash
I am.
Bandicoot?
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
My dad dug out his PS1.
Oh, yeah.
And for a summer when I was younger, we just played Crash Bandicoot, and I'm trying to remember what else he had. But yes, I do remember Crash Bandicoot quite well.
He is based on the Eastern Barred Bandicoot.
Oh, he's actually based off
a real Bandicoot species.
Cool.
But then he was mutated on the Wumpa Wumpa Islands.
Yes.
And there's actually an extinct Bandicoot species known only from fossils. This one is up in the Riversley fossil area, I think it's called, up in like northern Queensland, and it has actually been given the scientific name of Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, hell
Genus name Crash and species name Bandicoot. So Crash Bandicoot is now
canon.
Canon. I don't know if it walked up as upright as Crash Bandicoot, but
that's so sick.
Yeah, so that's a fun little tidbit on bandicoots that I don't think I would otherwise get to talk about on the program.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Zach. That was quite comprehensive.
Thank you.
As well, I am happy. Next time there's a pub trivia that focuses on bandicoots, I'll crush it.
Hell yeah, it'll crash it.
Oh, crash it. Yes.
Yeah.
State Library of Queensland presents Stranded, celebrating 50 years of 4ZZZ.
Mark your calendar for the first week of December for a festival of conversations, workshops, and exhibitions at the Edge.
Discover the radical legacy of 4ZZZ with panels on independent media, music and culture, and iconic spaces. Visit the 4ZZZ or State Library websites for all the details.
Presented by State Library of Queensland, supporters of 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Eco Radio, the radio of the future.
You are listening to Eco Radio, the radio of the future. Thank you, small child. Crazy. We still got it.
We still got it, bro.
After months away.
6 months away, yeah. Nice.
You remember one time we did that, and it was by Georgia Scarlett, and then I thought we would
Thank you, random lady.
No, I think it was Thank You, Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that wasn't a good look for me, not going to lie.
If you want to participate in the Hottest 100, which is the cooler, sexier version of another radio station, something 100, then head to 4ZZZ.org.au. We've got everything plastered everywhere on our socials as well. If you are a subscriber as well, you get double points. Not double votes, double points for your vote. So if you especially want to share the local community love, head to 4ZZZ.org.au/.
I'm actually not sure what it is, actually. Anyway, if you just just search 4ZZZ Hot 100 and voting will be open and I believe that one we will be holding the results for that one live on the 7th at the Triffid. That sounds right.
That sounds about right.
Yes.
So we'll be holding it on our birthday, because don't forget, we're turning 50. You might have heard about it. So it'll be on the day, as opposed to on New Year's, which we're mixing it up for our 50th. Excuse us. So there'll be a lot of fun things in store. But in order to get to the double points, you gotta subscribe.
Please do.
4ZZZ.org.au/sub. Support. Different tiers for different folks. So jump on down. Subscribe your pet if you haven't done so already.
For only $25.
$25 or a child, same thing. We've got concession for $40 if you're a student. Full for what?
$80.
Passionate, $140 if you really love us.
And if you're passionate, you get a t-shirt and a tote bag, which is pretty sick.
That is good value. And finally, if you really love us, super sub $500, get your name downstairs. We also have a sub pack for this month. Do you want to dive into that, Zach?
And that one is from Dave's Wine Revival, which has just opened down the road from 4ZZZ. If you subscribe this month, you could win a wine tasting for 6 and a mixed case of 12 wines. We don't think that has any relation to Dave from Eco Radio, but I
haven't seen both Daves in the same room at the same time.
Yeah, his absence at the moment is noted. So
Yeah.
Very suspicious there.
So not only do you get double points when you subscribe to 4ZZZ and cast your vote in the Hottest 100, as a subscriber you also get discounted tickets to the rest of our Z50 gigs, including Gig City coming up on the 29th of November, which you've probably heard a lot of. I'm excited to possibly see Square Tugs and Mitch Please be playing, but we've also got the Johnnies.
And good friend of the of Eco Radio, Garigula. I'm so excited to see. So, great year for big gigs, and if you are a subscriber, you'll get early bird and discount tickets. Plus, we've got our sub outlets as well if you want to get a cheeky discount in some places that support us and love us. So, 4ZZZ.org.au. Get down there and support us, please. Please do that.
Pretty please. Thank you.
Please.
Keep us on the air and keep that warm inner glow running.
Custard,
The Johnnies,
Gazunga Attack,
Monster Zoku Ensemble,
Dad Fight,
Mark N,
The Disables,
Combat Wombat,
Go-Go Bumhole,
Paul Abad,
Viper Snatch,
Mitch Please,
Coal Outcrops, Half Star Band,
Garigula,
The Disdained, and so many more playing at Gig City Saturday the 29th of November, 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. across 3 stages at Brightside.
Tickets are just $60 for subscribers via Oztix. Gig City is part of 4ZZZ's 50th celebrations.
Presented by Punkfest, Lockdown and Renegade Playground, proud sponsors of 4ZZZ.
We also got a text in from Pete Davies, who says, I remember camping at Rocky Dam Creek boat ramp south of Mackay, and while we were out fishing, the bandicoots went underneath my mate's tent and ripped a hole through the floor to get to a loaf of bread he left out.
Far out.
They're so bloody cool and cute, but my mate didn't think so after that. Bandicoots got to get that bread.
Gotta get that bread.
Yeah. But yeah, I still think they're cool and cute as well. I'm so glad that they made Crash Bandicoot a real thing. Anyway, Issy, I believe you had some news for us.
I do have some news from you. This is some good news coming out of the COP30 climate conference in Brazil. South Korea, Australia's third largest market for coal burn to generate electricity, announced at the conference that it is joining the Powered Past Coal Alliance, a group of about 60 nations or 120 sub-national governments, businesses and organisations committed to phasing out the fossil fuel. South Korea's Minister of Climate, Energy and Environment, Kim Song-hwa, said it demonstrated the country's commitment to accelerating a just and clean energy transition. The pledge commits Korea to retiring 62 coal plants, 40 of which have already confirmed closure dates. South Korea has faced criticism for dropping a 100% renewable energy target and not acting faster to address the climate crisis. The Climate Action Tracker found it would phase out coal power by 2030 and gas power shortly after if its actions would be compatible with the goals of the Paris Agreement. Analytics firm Kpler estimates Australia will sell about $2.3 billion in Australian or US $1.5 billion worth of thermal coal to South Korea in this year alone. James Bowen, the director of consultancy agency Remap Research, said South Korea's decision would send a powerful signal across the Asia Pacific. Quote, South Korea's decision would prompt Australia to show leadership by discussing timeframes of its own fossil fuel phase-out whilst helping its regional neighbours embrace clean energy, Bowen said. So this is really interesting. An unfortunate kind of characteristic of Australian policies is we typically wait for others to jump before we then jump into policy. So seeing such not only one of our biggest markets, our third biggest market for coal, making this change will hopefully put pressure, especially with the recent debates where we are literally begging politicians for crumbs of just agreeing with climate change policies. Hopefully this will put a little bit further pressure on our kind of government into making these changes, or even just setting correct and accurate dates of when we can fully phase out fossil fuels.
Are there any updates on things such as the use of natural gases in South Korea as well? Because I know that's still quite a big market for Australian natural gases too.
Whilst they've made no comments specifically on fossil fuel, I believe they are looking at primarily coal burning.
Okay, yeah.
So that has been moving beyond Coal Alliance is the kind of Powering Past Coal Alliance is the organisation that they have signed on for. So that will be definitely something that will be put under the spotlight, especially as they start to transition outwards. Because it's one thing to sign to something, it's another to actually ratify it. So this will be a really interesting thing to keep an eye on. And like I said, I really hope that it is puts pressure.
It sends a
pretty
message.
Powerful message.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into this at a later point, but in another episode. But with another date. But with the coalition agreeing to no net zero anymore, even when renewables are the cheaper option now. Hopefully, again, like you said, it sends a message to really the world, the direction that the world is actually taking.
So, I think that was really interesting and almost kind of an uplifting story.
Yeah, we like nice stories.
Especially when there are criticisms, of course, of these sorts of climate conferences, because they are held internationally, which you can talk about all the kind of carbon emissions of flying politicians out to these sorts of countries.
Yeah.
But proof that there is change happening.
Yeah.
I'm excited about your story, Zach. I teased a little bit in No Idea about half an hour ago about, well, what are you talking about?
So we're going to be talking about some of the classifications of some of the potential changes to classifications of dingoes in Queensland. So the Department of Primary Industries Queensland is reportedly considering changing the classification of dingoes from Canis familiaris dingo to Canis familiaris, otherwise known as the domestic dog. Under current Queensland biosecurity legislation, dingoes are considered an invasive species because of the threat they pose to livestock. They cannot be distributed, sold, released into the environment, moved, fed, or kept like rabbits and foxes. A Department of Primary Industries Queensland spokesperson has said that these changes are being considered because it is difficult to visually differentiate between a pure dingo, mixed wild or feral dog, and some domestic dogs. While this is true, Alex Livingston from Defend the Wild has pointed out dingoes are genetically, evolutionary and behaviourally distinct, playing a critical ecological role in Australia and therefore should remain distinct from domestic dogs. Critics have also pointed out that this change in classification could open the door for dingoes to be kept as pets in Queensland. Tony Perrott, the Minister for Primary Industries, has said that keeping dingoes as pets in the same fashion as a domesticated dog is categorically wrong though, but as Miss Livingston points out again, essentially when you're considering the dingoes are the same as dogs and that they're difficult to differentiate, how can you look at something that is behaving like a dingo and whatnot but may physically look like a dog and say like how can you say that they won't be kept then, because it just looks like one, which is the same justification they're using for changing this legislation in the first place. It is important to mention that both Western Australia and New South Wales allow for dingoes to be kept as pets. However, issues such as overbreeding and poor welfare have been prominent, and that's because these are wild animals. They have evolved to be wild within the Australian landscape, and in general, no disrespect to all the dog lovers out there, but the dingoes are a fair bit smarter than them because they've got to live, they've got to figure out how to do things on their own, and so things like keeping them in backyards is a much greater issue because they're better at escaping, and also they're more likely to be aggressive and whatnot, so there's just like issues with changing this classification there, because that could allow the door to open for keeping them as pets. It just blurs that line a bit too much.
I was talking with the No Idea team about this, and we pulled up some previous research that I think we had discussed, which was from the University of Sydney, where they use genetic testing methods to understand the ancestry of wild dogs across Australia. And of their wild population that they tested, most of the wild animals were pure dingoes. Only a small proportion had dog ancestry from great or great grandparents. There was no first cross 50-50 hybrids or feral dogs in the wild caught sample. So essentially all quote wild dogs are dingoes. So I think it is also delving into policy. When you change categories, it makes it really hard to then use previous research. So if you're building policy and you're building let's say scientific studies, it is really hard to kind of use similar terms or similar categories if they have been changed. So this seems like a very much a what if situation of like, there have been people who have kept wild dingoes as animals, but it doesn't seem too much to be a threat enough dingoes to be like this issue of dingoes living in people's backyards and things like that. So I think this is really interesting, and I am intrigued to see where this goes as well. I think especially dingoes have left the mainstream media, especially in the last year or so with Gurry Island and the high amount of dingo attacks there. It was definitely circulating through media, but now it's definitely been left behind almost. So I'd be really interested to see what Peak Bodies, an animal welfare group, say about it. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for that explainer, Zach. I think that's definitely brought a lot of interesting thoughts.
But yeah, Kylie Cairns, who is a dingo geneticist, says this doesn't make sense at all. Sort of like when you're considering that they're the same, but no, they're different in this situation.
Yes.
We'll be able to identify that.
Yeah. Anyway. I was going to say, I'm interested to know, because when you're looking at their ancestry, you can see there is quite a distinct difference in what that DNA looks like.
And again, ecologically, behaviourally, like in terms of other native animals being able to identify a dingo compared to a dog.
Yeah.
Like they do hold a role in the Australian ecosystem after most of the the mid-range predators have been lost, like the thylacine and whatnot. They do fill that ecological niche. But these are just proposed changes, and they're currently in the review process at the moment, with legislative amendments next occurring in April 2026.
Interesting.
I did find a lot of this frustrating as well, purely from me being a taxonomy kind of nerd, because they're calling it Canis familiaris when it should be Canis lupus familiaris, because Canis familiaris then suggests that it's a different species to the
I was going to say, there was a missing component somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty basic understanding of it. It seemed like there was something missing.
Yeah, so like the domesticated dog was considered a subspecies of wolf, so it was called Canis lupus familiaris, and then the dingo was considered a separate subspecies called Canis lupus dingo.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really frustrated me reading about it that way.
Enough.
And up next, it's going to be a little thing that we like to call the Bushcare Roundup, which is where we go through some of the bushcare and just general outdoor events happening in southeast Queensland this week.
It's a Bushcare Roundup. They've been pulling out weeds,
and then they put in trees. It's a Bushcare Roundup. Doing a bit of harmonising with Dave there, even though he's not here at the moment. So on Friday the 21st at 2:45 we have the Seagrass monitoring in Tallebudgera Creek, and that one is happening at 154 Tallebudgera Drive, Palm Beach.
On Saturday the 22nd at 8 a.m. there is the Oyster Basket Building Working Bee at the Port of Brisbane Park in Port of Brisbane. At 8:30 there is the Short-Beaked Echidnas in Logan Walk and Talk in the Kimberley Forest Park in Shailer Park. 9 a.m. we've got the Weed ID and Control Workshop and the Spring Mountain Reserve in Greenbank. And finally at 6 we have the Light Sheeting and Microbat Discovery Walk at Moore Park and Moore in Indooroopilly.
That one would be a fun one to attend to if you're looking at doing some biodiversity
I love a little bit of microbats.
Yeah. On Sunday the 23rd from 8 till 10 there is the November Bushcare at Wodonga Park, and that one is in the Gap. From 8 till 10:30 there's the Caring for Our Wetlands Community Cleanup and Creative Workshop down in Durack, and then Monday on the 24th 5 p.m. there is the Old Faithful Sea Slug Survey in the Rocky Shores at John Laws Park, Burleigh Heads.
Nice.
And that's it. That's all we've got for Eco Radio this week. Thank you very much for joining me again after a long
6 months of I miss being in Studio
Isabel.
One.
Yeah, it's so many nice smells.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, it's been nice catching up as well, off air and on air with you, Zach. I do miss the Eco Radio community.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who has texted in. Thank you for your music requests.
Thank you, Marky. Thank you, Pete.
Marky. So, yeah, let's check us out on socials on Eco Radio, 4ZZZ Eco Radio. We've also got our lovely Dave having his art showcase as well.
Yeah, that one is next week. So if you
It's this week, I'm pretty sure.
I think he's in Indonesia. Maybe it is tomorrow.
Let me check.
Yes.
We'll get our experts on it. But yes, keep track on the socials for us. They'll be happening at Scratch Bar, I believe, in Milton.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. We've got Zack pulling up the dates.
I am looking at the moment currently for Dave's work at the Scratch Bar. It is next week, yeah.
It is next week. My apologies.
It is tomorrow.
I jumped the gun.
My bad.
I did manage
No, it's tomorrow, I mean. Sorry.
It's tomorrow?
Yes, I've got it all wrong.
Take us off air, Zach.
But yeah, head to the Scratch Bar tomorrow night if you're keen on checking out some 4ZZZ artwork.